When Emily returned from the gym that evening, the house smelled faintly of cinnamon and coffee. The sun had already dipped below the horizon, leaving a warm orange glow spilling to the living room windows. I was sitting on the couch, hands folded, staring at the television, though the screen was off. She came in, towel draped over her shoulders, hair slightly damp, and smiled faintly, expecting the usual small talk. "Hey," she said, dropping her gym bag by the door. "Sit down," I said, my voice calm, measured. She tilted her head, eyebrows raised. "Sit down and what?" "Watch TV." "No," I said. "Sit down and watch this." I patted the cushion next to me, and she hesitated for a moment, uncertainty flickering across her face. Slowly, she complied, crossing her legs and sitting just far enough to keep a sense of distance, as though she instinctively knew something was different tonight. The living room felt heavier, quieter, like the air itself was holding its breath. I handed her a tablet, the screen already loaded with a video. Emily's eyes scanned it curiously, and for a second I almost thought she was going to dismiss it with a joke. "This is what exactly?" she asked, her tone casual, though there was a subtle tension hiding beneath it. "Just watch," I said, keeping my voice neutral. No interruptions. "Just watch." She pressed play, and the screen flickered to life. The first images were of us, snippets in the past year, moments she probably thought I had forgotten. Her laughing in the kitchen while I burned pancakes, us arguing over bills with raised voices, but softening into laughter moments later, quiet nights reading side by side. I watched her face as she absorbed the clips. At first, she smiled faintly, a hint of nostalgia, then frowned, confusion settling in. The video shifted, though, moving from lighter moments into more revealing ones. Clips of her on the phone late at night, laughing a little too long at something I couldn't hear. Shots of her meeting people, coffee dates, text flashing across the screen. Nothing explicit, nothing monstrous, but the implication was there. The tension, the secrecy, the subtle distance she had maintained over the past months. Emily's hand tightened around the tablet, her lips pressed into a thin line, eyes widening slightly, darting between the screen and my face. Where did you get this?" she asked, voice catching for the first time. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. The video itself spoke. The carefully arranged montage of moments that seemed innocent to her, but told a story of subtle betrayal, neglect, and small lies. I had been patient, blind even, hoping to catch small signs of affection, hoping for honesty, hoping she would bridge the growing gap. And tonight, I wanted her to see the truth through my eyes, unfiltered, undeniable. The background music shifted, softer now, almost haunting. Her breathing changed. She swallowed hard, as though realizing the weight of her actions and the emotional distance she had created. A shot of her ignoring a text I had sent days before appeared on screen, followed by her laughing with someone else while I waited at home. My stomach twisted, but I kept my composure. The story wasn't about anger or revenge yet. It was about revelation, about making her confront the pattern she had ignored. Her hands trembled slightly as she lowered the tablet. Her eyes, usually so bright, now flickered with a mix of shock, guilt, and something I couldn't quite name. Perhaps fear, perhaps realization. She opened her mouth to speak, then closed it again. I didn't look at her. I let her sit with the images, with the sound, with the silence between us. Minutes passed. The final clip played. A scene of her alone at a cafe, smiling at her phone, and a message appeared on the screen. "You don't even notice me anymore, do you?" It was a text I had sent weeks ago, ignored, yet now framed perfectly in the context of her actions. Emily's hands dropped, and the tablet rested in her lap, forgotten. She didn't speak. She couldn't. I finally leaned back, letting the quiet stretch between us. "Do you see now?" I asked softly. My voice wasn't accusing. It was almost weary. All of this, it's not me imagining things. It's reality. This is how it's been for months. Tears welled in her eyes, unbidden, betraying the hard mask she always wore around me. I had known she could cry, but I had never seen this combination of shock and remorse. She began, voice breaking. I held up a hand. "Not yet. Just absorb it." Don't speak. Just feel what I felt. She nodded slightly, and for the first time, there was an acknowledgement, a quiet admission of the chasm that had grown between us. She couldn't look at me fully, as if ashamed, afraid of what she might see in my gaze. The video ended. The room plunged back into the muted evening light, and in that silence, the full weight of months, maybe years, hung in the air, undeniable, suffocating, and impossible to ignore. For the first time in a long while, I felt a shift inside me. Not anger, not yet, but clarity. The patience, the hope, the repeated attempts to reconnect. They were mine alone. And tonight, she would have to confront it. Emily exhaled shakily, shoulders slumping, the tablet still trembling slightly in her hands. She tried to speak again, but I shook my head gently. No, not yet. Just sit with it. Sit with what you've done and what's been left undone. And for the first time in months, she did. She just sat there, and I let her. The room stayed quiet for what felt like an eternity. Emily's breathing was uneven, shallow, betraying the storm of emotions raging inside her. I didn't move, didn't speak, didn't rush the moment. For once, the power in our relationship wasn't mine or hers. It was in the truth that had finally been revealed. Finally, she whispered, her voice trembling. I didn't realize. I thought. Her words trailed off, swallowed by the weight of her guilt. I met her gaze for the first time since she had sat down. The familiar spark I had loved, the warmth that had once drawn me to her, was gone, replaced by uncertainty, regret, and the faintest hint of fear. I wasn't angry. Not yet. What I felt was sharper, clearer clarity. Years of confusion, hope, and denial had crystallized into one undeniable fact. The distance between us was hers, not mine. I don't want to hear excuses. I said calmly, almost too calm. I want honesty. All the honesty you've been avoiding. Her eyes widened, and for a moment I thought she might break. But instead, she tried to recover, her tone defensive. I've been stressed. Work, life is not like that. You're reading too much into things. I shook my head slowly. No, Emily, this isn't about stress. This isn't about work or life. It's about you choosing to ignore me, to shut me out piece by piece, day by day. And now you see what that looks like. Her hands shook as she placed the tablet on the coffee table. I didn't mean to hurt you, she said, voice breaking. I didn't realize it had gotten this far. I stood and walked toward the window, looking out at the fading sunset, though my mind wasn't on the view. You didn't realize? That's the thing, isn't it? You never realized. You were too wrapped up in your own world to notice that I was fading away right in front of you. Emily rose to her feet, a mixture of desperation and fear in her expression. Please, I can fix this. We can talk. I turned to face her fully, my jaw tight, hands clenched at my sides. Fix this? Emily, do you know how many times I tried to reach you over the past months? Nights I stayed up worrying, waiting for some sign, some spark, some acknowledgement, and each time I got nothing. Silence, avoidance, lies by omission. You didn't just neglect me, you erased me from your life. Her eyes filled with tears, but this time they were accompanied by a quiet resignation. I could see the recognition dawning, the uncomfortable understanding that the safe little world she had built around herself had collapsed in one evening. I don't know what to say, she admitted, voice barely audible. I thought we were okay. I didn't think you'd notice. I stepped closer, closing the distance between us, but not to comfort, not to forgive, just to confront. Notice? Emily, I noticed everything. The cold shoulders, the fake smiles, the endless distractions, the little lies that stacked up until I couldn't breathe. I noticed the way you stopped laughing at my jokes, the way you flinched when I tried to touch you, the way you made sure I felt invisible in my own home. I noticed everything, and I waited, hoped, believed you would come back. But you never did. Her hands clutched at her chest, as though physically holding herself together. I didn't know it had hurt you that much, she whispered. I shook my head, a bitter smile tugging at the corner of my lips. It didn't hurt me that much, Emily. It hurt me every day. And tonight, you finally see it. Not because I shouted, not because I demanded it, but because I made you watch. Because now you can't escape it anymore. She fell into the couch, tears spilling freely, the weight of realization pressing her down. I remained standing, calm, almost attached, though my heart thumped in a way it hadn't in months. It wasn't triumph. It wasn't joy. It was closure. The sharp, clean clarity of someone finally seeing the truth. I'm sorry, she murmured repeatedly, her voice breaking into sobs. I finally sat down across from her, keeping my distance but holding her gaze. Sorry isn't enough anymore, I said softly. It can't bring back what's been lost, the time, the connection, the trust. Sorry doesn't erase the years I felt invisible while you lived your life around me. Sorry doesn't fix the choices you've made, Emily. And that's why I can't just move on like nothing happened. Her sobs grew quieter, exhausted by the weight of the moment. I could see her understanding, finally, that the life we had shared was broken, fractured beyond repair. Not through one dramatic event, but through countless small moments of neglect, deception, and distance. I stood again, feeling a strange, bittersweet relief. I can't force you to care, Emily. I can't make you love me, notice me, or even value what we had. That's on you. But I can leave this room knowing I stood my ground, showed you the truth, and finally gave myself permission to step out of life that no longer included me. She looked up at me, eyes red, swollen, pleading silently. But I had already made my decision. Slowly, I walked past her, grabbed my jacket from the hallway, and opened the front door. The night was quiet, almost eerily so, but I felt lighter, freer. Before stepping outside, I looked back one last time. Emily sat there, the tablet resting untouched on the couch, her face a mixture of shock, guilt, and dawning comprehension. I didn't speak. I didn't need to. The video, the confrontation, the silence, it had said everything. I walked out into the cool evening air, the world beyond the door suddenly alive and full of possibility. No yelling, no dramatic scene, just the quiet, unshakable truth, and the first step toward reclaiming myself.